Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 tips to pull off a successful bulk. Before I get into that topic, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. The best topic ideas I turn into videos just like this. Just a reminder, you can check out the link below. Come on over, join my private forum. No trolls, no BS. All right, 3 tips to pull off a successful bulk. Before I get into them, I want to lead with this. If you're carrying around extra fat, extra weight, and you're thinking about bulking, don't. Get that extra fat and extra weight off before you dive into a bulk. The obvious question that I get at this point is, how should I train? You should train normally. You should train like you're training in a bulk. Get that fat off. Get that extra weight off. It's good for health, and you'll look better. You'll feel better once you start the muscle building process. Now, let's get into the 3 tips. And these are extremely important, but honestly, most people don't take them as seriously as they should. And it has to do really with consistency. Tip number 1 is calories. You need to be consistent with your calories. You probably need to be about somewhere around 300 calories above your maintenance level. This can vary. Obviously depending on where you are at in the muscle building process. If you're an intermediate, you want to go less aggressive, probably around 150 to 200, maybe 150 to 300. If you're a beginner, probably 300 to 400 above your maintenance level. The more muscle you have, the lower the amount of muscle mass you're going to pack on per year, and the less aggressive you want to get for a bulk. But in general, I would probably say 300 to 400 calories above maintenance level is a good place to start with a bulk. But with that said, consistency. This is where most people fail. Most people fail is that they don't track, they don't monitor, and they're not consistent. Consistency is very important, especially for the natural lifter. Now, with that, let's move on to protein intake. This is tip number 2. You need to have a good quality, consistent protein intake. When it comes to protein synthesis, being in a state where your body is, recovering and repairing muscle at an optimal rate, you need to have a quality, consistent amount of protein intake. Now, there's many rules and many guidelines, and some of them are arbitrary, and some of them are silly. Some of them advocate way too much protein. For the average man, I typically advocate at least 150 grams per day. We can split hairs, and somebody's going to jump into the comment section below and talk about this rule or this study or that study. There's a couple things to think about when it comes to protein intake. Number 1 is balance, macronutrient balance. If you hear anything crazy, it's just my dog down here. Macronutrient balance. If you're somebody that's eating 450 grams of carbs a day, it's good to eat a little bit more protein to balance things out. So when it comes to diet, it's a little bit deeper and more complex than we often, give it credit for, right? So protein intake, I usually recommend at least 150 grams of protein per day as a baseline, a minimum target that you want to hit. If you're somebody that has more muscle mass than that, if you're more of an intermediate lifter, you might want to be at 160 or 170. These are minimum goals. I have red line goals for my client. That's usually about 130. Never go under that. But again, where most people fail, and I have I've run into this many times with clients, that protein intake can often be the hardest thing for people to manage, for people to hit. So you got to find a way to hit it. You're going to have to reduce some crappy carbs. If you have to resort to a protein shake or 2 per day, do it. But you got to find a way to hit your protein intake goals, especially as a natural lifter. It's very, very important just for keeping the bumps out of the road, for streamlining the muscle building process. Now, the 3rd tip is probably something you don't expect, but it's something you need to think about. As you build muscle, and if you build it rapidly, so to backtrack a little bit, when I started lifting in 1986, I was about 154 pounds, give or take a pound. I don't really remember. somewhere in that range. And the first year of lifting, I added a lot of muscle mass. Within a year, people were asking me, what I was doing to add muscle mass. The thing you need to remember, and this is tip number 3, is that as you add muscle mass, your metabolism is going to what? It's generally going to increase. So if you start today on a bulk and you're 300 calories above maintenance, there's a good chance, if you're really rapidly gaining muscle mass, that in 6 to 8 months or maybe even a year from now, your maintenance level is going to be different. Your maintenance level then might be, because of the extra muscle mass you pack on, it might be what you were bulking at. So if your maintenance level is 2,500 now and you're bulking at 2,800, if you're adding a lot of muscle mass, in a year your maintenance level might be 2,800. That's a strong possibility. So you need to kind of continually watch the scale and make sure that your rate of weight gain on this bulk is appropriate. Now, what do I consider a good rate of weight gain? Well, I've covered this before, and this is kind of a bonus tip in this video. But naturals tend to put on about 30 to 32 pounds of muscle mass over the course of their life, if they're lucky. Many never reach this level. Don't split hairs with me. This is not a rule. It's a general guideline. 30 to 35 pounds of muscle mass for a male, starting at about a normal body weight. So with that said, the first year of lifting, you probably don't want to gain more than 16 to 20 pounds of weight, or maybe 1.5 pounds per month, somewhere around there, give or take. The second year, probably 1 pound a month, maybe the third year, 1 pound a month. That's just a ballpark figure. You can go a little bit over that if you're training appropriately, if you're training hard. It's not going to pack on that much fat. I mean, if you're up to 2 pounds per month the first year and you don't have your training, you haven't nailed your training, it's probably going to just be a fat gain program. So the cornerstone is to make sure you have nailed your training. But until you get to that point, I would not enter a bulk. You need to make sure you got a good program with a good progression approach. You're ready to rock and roll with that diet. And then if you enter a bulk out that first year, I would probably aim to gain about 1.5 pounds per month. If you are really rocking and you really notice some good progress, then you might want to bump it up to 2 pounds per month for the rest of that first year. But that would probably cause you to gain a little bit extra fat, but it's completely up to you, your call. So, if you're looking at like 18 pounds the first year and 12 of it is muscle, and you bump it up to a rate of gain, which would be 24 pounds, you're looking at, maybe adding a couple more pounds of fat, which really isn't much at all. Wouldn't take very long to knock that off. So guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. If you made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I'd appreciate the support. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.